Last thing I want to call your attention to is there is a document in your folder that says a stronger NCLB critical for high school and students of color, access to rigor and aligning standards to college and work readiness. This document is essentially where the campaign for high school equity sort of falls down on this issue, on the importance of increasing academic rigor for high school students and aligning standards to college and work readiness. For those of you who may have come to briefings or events that we've done in the past, you will have heard us say quite over and over, frankly, how important it is to prepare high school students for college, for work, and for life. Many of you who are familiar with the work of the Alliance for Excellent Education, you will have heard that refrain over and over again. And we are at a point now where this is a refrain that all of our organizations in the coalition believe in very, very strongly. And in short, without sort of going through this entire document, if I could sum up for you very briefly where CHSE is on this issue, it is simply to say this. For all students, but certainly for students of color, the degree to which we can provide greater access to rigor, high quality coursework for those students, we're actually doing a much better service for all those students. I was at an event yesterday afternoon that was sponsored by a youth group here in DC. The group is called Step Up DC, and they were kicking off a campaign in the city to try and increase the city's graduation rates. What was interesting about the event was that it was organized and led all by young people. At some point in the program, the moderator for the program, who was the executive director of the Alliance of Youth Advocates or something of that nature, read out a list of local policymakers who had been invited to the program. And what they were doing was they were asking policymakers, school officials, and parents in the audience to stand up one by name, and to verbally commit to stepping up to the plate, so to speak, to support students in the District of Columbia and support increasing the graduation rates. Now, in many ways, it was a symbolic gesture, but if you could have been there, you would have seen how powerful of a moment it was to see young people standing up saying, look, there's something we really want in our schools. We really do want access to courses that are much richer in academic rigor. We really do want courses that actually prepare us a lot better for college and prepare us a lot better for the world of work. And more importantly, we're counting on you, Mr. and Mrs. Policymaker, you, teacher and educational professional and parents and community leaders. We're counting on you to step forward and to see those individuals in the audience stand up one by one as their names were called by these young people, and to hear them say, yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you. It was a very, very powerful moment. What I took away from it is simply this. We have a responsibility as a community, whether we are advocates, whether we're policymakers, or whether we're educators, to spend a little bit more time listening to young people and being honest in terms of how we try to serve their needs. They are speaking to us, I think, in very, very clear terms about what they think is important and how their schools ought to be redesigned, particularly along the lines of rigor and the alignment of standards. So what we've tried to do in this document is, one, to sort of reflect what we think those student perspectives are, but also we try to reflect what our policy recommendations and priorities are, and many of those you will find on our website. I don't think we have our plan for success document here, but if you look at our website, you will see the specific policy recommendations and priorities of our coalition listed there. So I would encourage you to take some time and to peruse this. Now then, I am very, very pleased that we are joined this morning by some wonderful speakers, and I've provided you with their bios, so I'm not going to go through their biographical information for you. What I will say is, when we put together these events, we spend a lot of time as a coalition thinking about the individuals and organizations that we would like to join us in this dialogue. And we do a fairly concerted effort of looking around the country to find individuals and organizations that have made a real impact and that have really sort of staked out an important space on this issue. And the Education Trust West, headed by Ruslan Ali, has done some amazing work on this issue, some amazing work particularly highlighting the importance and the centrality of an equity perspective in all the work that we do. And so we are just very, very pleased to have Ruslan Ali, the Executive Director of the Education Trust West, with us. In addition to Ruslan, we are pleased to have Sandra Boyd, who is Vice President for Advocacy and Outreach at Achieve. Many of you are probably familiar with a lot of the work that Achieve has been doing, the American Diploma Project, and things of that nature, which I'm sure she will share a little bit more with you as time goes on. But in terms of a national voice that has really been charting some important new directions on this issue, Achieve is actually right out there in front, and we're just pleased to have them here at the table with us this morning. In addition to Ruslan and Sandy, we're pleased to be joined by Delia Pompa, who is Vice President for Education with the National Council of La Raza. The National Council of La Raza is actually one of our coalition partners. Most of you are probably familiar with some of the work Delia did in her previous life, both at the Department of Education. I know she's done a lot of work on advocating for bilingual students, so we're just pleased to have Delia here. And we're always pleased to have one of our partner organizations join us. And then finally, rounding out our panel is Dr. Joel Vargas, who is with Jobs for the Future. A huge part of what Dr. Vargas does at JFF is coordinating their early college high school initiative, which he will, I'm sure, tell you a lot more about. But when we think about providing increased access to Rigor for students, particularly Native American students and other students, the early college high school initiative around the country has just really become an incredibly good and innovative program, and JFF has been doing a wonderful job so coordinating that for a lot of different organizations, and I'm sure Joel will share a little bit more about that with you. Having said all of that, I am going to take my seat for a moment, and we're going to start the program off by inviting Sandy to be our first speaker of the morning.